Yeah. Hi team, my name is Rohit and I am having total 12 years of experience in SAP Security and GRC. From technical perspective, I have worked on SAP GRC, Security, SAP S4 HANA Security, and the GRC I have worked on AC and PC both. Then S4 HANA Security, HANA DB Security, BI Security, HR Security, ECC Security. I have worked on BI Security, and currently I am working on IAS system, IPS system, and BTP security system. So from technical perspective, I have worked on all these systems from security perspective, and from my past experience, from organization perspective, I have worked with Accenture for around 5 years, then with Fujitsu for around 2 years, with Wipro 2 years, with IBM 2 years, and apart from that, I have worked on multiple implementation projects, like two with the big organization, and it's an end-to-end implementation for GRC and S4 HANA, and one ECC security implementation project, and one ECC security role redesigning, plus rollouts also. So that's all about me. And yeah, so I think we can start now. So basically, why security? Why security is required? So let's say there is a system and user wants to access some of the data. So basically SAP is a system where you are procuring your all the data related to your management, like material management, whatever you are getting in the system, whatever you are getting in terms of your request or whatever, let's say there is a PO in the system, then all those details is coming in SAP through different modules. So basically in SAP, there are multiple modules like finance. There is one module SAP FI. Under FI, there is one sub module that is CU, that is for controlling. In the same way, there is another module called SAP Then there is different module PS, PP. So all these modules makes one software, and that is called SAP. And SAP is nothing; it's an entrepreneur software that basically controls or give you the power to control all your expenses or whatever transaction is going in your organization. That particular controlling power is coming through SAP, and all the reporting is done through SAP. Let's say you want to see in last year how many POs you have distributed, or in how many material you have procured from different vendors. So these type of reports you will get it from SAP, and for that you have to enter data, and that data is coming from different modules like finance, and to, let's say, that data, if someone can access that data, then it's a big issue for that organization, and it can cause multiple consequences like fraud can commit in that system. Let's say some other person access your SAP software, and that particular person can cause any type of transaction in the system. So to control this thing, security comes into picture, and basically security is used to what it called. So security is used to control who can access your SAP system, and how many, or and what type of access you have given to that user, and what all transactions he can perform in the system. So security is nothing but authentication and authorization. Authentication means who will access your SAP system, and authorization, what he will access in the system. So these two things coming from security background. Previously, around 5 to 6 years back, security is running with basis. So at that time, basis and security consultant is known as basis consultant. But in current scenario, basis consultant is different. The one who is taking care of the infrastructure part. Like if you want to install SAP system, that comes under basis. If you want to do some like upgrade in the system, like STPI upgrades or some other upgrades in the system, so that part is coming from basis. In case of user related access part, authentication part, or auditing part, or GRC governance part, so these comes under security. So let's say right now we are working on S4 HANA, but before S4 HANA, we are having one more system, and that is ECC. In that system, if I'll talk about what's the difference, basically difference between S4 HANA and ECC. So S4 HANA is basically designed on HANA system, and HANA is a runtime software which is running on RAM. So understand it in the layman terms. RAM RAM is the highest running memory on, and on that RAM you are running your software. So each and everything that you are accessing from the system or saving in the system, that is a runtime software. So actual speed of your system is increased. This is the main difference between S4 HANA and ECC. Apart from this, in ECC there are different modules, and those are not interrelated as compared to S4 HANA. So basically in that software, if I'll talk about SAP FI integration with MM, so that integration is not up to that level. That level right now SAP is giving in S4 HANA. This is another difference. Apart from this, if I talk about in terms of security, it's basically same. Over there also we are using the same tools or T codes. And in S4 HANA also we are using the same T codes or tools. Okay, so let's start with ECC security. So under ECC security, basically in security, I told you two things. One is authentication and second is authorization. So authentication is coming from user master record, not from HR master record. It's coming from user master record. There are two records on the system. One is HR master record and the second one is user master record. What HR master record holds in the system? That consists of your personal information like your username, your organization ID, your email ID. These comes under HR master record, your basic salary, your PF, your deductions. And apart from this, you can see your organization, what type of designation you hold in your organization. So these many details coming from your HR system. HR you can integrate with the other softwares also, and from there you can pick up your data and put it in your SAP system. That's a different thing. But in terms of user master record, basically we are holding the same data like your first name, last name, and your designation in the organization, your email ID. These are the four main key parameters that we consider while creating a user master record. But these records does not conclude that you are from the same background, because this type of record is basically required to create an account for you. Even you can create an account in SAP without having your first name also. Only last name is required and your email ID should be there. In case if, like, let's say your organization hold 2% with the same last name, then in that case email ID is required. So email ID is basically a kind of primary key in SAP, and last name is also a basically, so whenever we are creating a record in SAP, last name is the mandatory field. Apart from this, if we are talking about, so this is part of authentication. Let's say you have created a user in SAP and that user holds all these information. Then you will be saving a particular record for that user and you will give a password to that account. Then once you share those credentials with the person who is having authority to access your SAP system, that person can access your system by using those credentials. Okay. This is one of the thing under security, and that is for authentication part. Now comes to the authorization part. Now you have created one account in SAP, and that account should have access. Likewise, you can see this screen. Let's say my account don't have any access. Then if I'll run SU01 T code, then I cannot access it, because right now I don't have any access in the system. But right now this user is having all the accesses. Let's say this user holds SAP all. I'll explain that part later. Then in that case, you can access all the transactions available in SAP. But let's say this, once you create an account in the SAP with the basic details like last name, email ID, first name, and you just give the password to that account, then once you save it, user will not be able to access any of the transaction. User can come down to this screen after entering the credentials, but he cannot access any of the system. Okay. So let's say I have created one account with basic details and I have just added a password to that account, and you shared those password with some of your candidate who can access your SAP system. Then he can access this system, but if I'll run any of the transaction or if I want to perform any of the T codes or any of the activity in the system, then system will give you an error. So up to this stage, it's authentication part. And after this stage, whatever user is trying to perform in SAP, that is coming from the second theory of SAP, and that is authorization. Now, authorization you will be giving through roles. You will be creating a roles or profiles in the system, and that roles or profiles holds the T code. What is T code? What is T code? So basically, each and every activity in SAP is assigned one T code. Let's say I want to create a user, then there is a T code SU01. SU01. This is one T code. If I want to create a user in system, then this is the T code designed by SAP to create a user in SAP. Okay, let's say there is one different T code, that is PA20 or PA30. This T code is used to create a user in HR master records. Like with basic pay details and all those stuff, you can create user through this transaction code. So each and every activity that you will perform in SAP has a naming convention called T code, and that T code consists of 4 to 5 letters depending on the requirement. Okay, 4 to 5 letters, and somewhere you will see this is the T code, that is /IWFND manned service. This is one T code. Okay, so each and every activity in SAP has its naming convention, and that is called T code or transaction code. Okay, so let's say I am creating one user, that is the T code SU01. If I'll enter this T code, then you will not be able to access without having a proper access to this transaction code. So that access is coming from authorization concept. And whenever you are talking about password or credentials part, how user will access all those things, that is coming from authentication part. So these two are the two things that you are seeing in the system from security perspective. And each and every system in SAP holds these two concepts. One is authentication and second is authorization. Authentication is nothing, log into the system, sharing credentials or defining credentials to the user, that is called authentication. Let's take an example how you will create a user. Let's say I'll create one user. Let's say I'll create best1. So under this transaction code, you can see all these menu options. This is create, this is change option, this is display option, delete option, copy option. You have one existing user and you want to copy all the details of that user, then enter that user over here or click over here. You will see from and to option. So you can copy all these details in another user. Then you have lock option, unlock option, change password option. Lock or unlock, you can do it through use this one and change password option. Let's say I'll create one user, best1. Okay, so under this screen, you will see these many sub screens available. One is documentation part. If your organization allow you to do some documentation also, let's say, because whenever you are doing anything in the system, there is one ticket concept in all the organization where you will work in your future endeavors or where you will be working in your future terms. Then all the organization holds one ticketing tool, and that ticketing tool holds the information who is requesting that access, who approved that access, and who will do the analysis, what type of access should be given to that user. Then that ticketing tool access or details, you can put it over here. Let's say you are using Jira, Snow, some other tool you are using. So that ticketing tool number, you can add it over here. So this is basically for documentation purpose. Now the second one is address. Title, you can give Mr., Mrs., then last name. This is a mandatory field. If you see this type of icon, that is a mandatory field. If you are not giving this details, then system will not save your record. Like first name, academic title, all these details you should give, and email address over here. Now this screen will give you this user type. I'll explain later. This new password option, here you will give the password, here you will give the repeat password, then user group you will give over here, then valid from which, let's say you want to give some future validity, user will join in future, and after that he will work on your organization part, then you can give future validity. If he's already started, you can give today's validity and valid today. Mostly we are giving for 1 year of validity, but it depends on organization how they want to do it. Account number you can give it and save it. Up to this, let's say if I'll save it over here, this part is called authentication part. Let's say I'll give one password and save it, then user can access this system using these credentials. But at this level, if I have not given any access to this ID, you will not be able to use any of the transactions. Now let's come to this roles part. Here, if I'll give, let's say I'm assigning one roles in the system. So here we have standard roles. Okay, so this is one of the role that I can assign to this ID. If I'll assign this role, you can see it's a green mark, then that means user master record is completed and this role is properly generated. This is the single role. If I'll save with this record, now whatever access this role is having, only that access can be performed by user in real time. Okay, apart from this role, let's say if I'll open this role, it's in the advanced stage. If I'll open this role and if I'll go to this authorization tab, so basically this role does not consist of any T code or something like that. This is basically to give some additional access under a T code. Okay, so through this role, you are not getting any T code access because T codes are mostly given through menu or through authorization as underscore T code object. These two are the advanced stages. I'll explain this later. But right now, if I'll give this role to this user and let's say this role is having access to SU01, and if I'll assign this role to this user and save it, then whenever user will log in with this user ID best one, he will be able to run T code SU01. If he wants to access any other T code, user will display error authorization missing for this T code. Okay. So these are the two concepts in SAP that consist of security part. Okay. Now let's go to one SU01. I'll explain you how SU01 works. Now let's say I'll create one ID and this is one of the details. Now this is the logon data. Now go to this tab. This is SNC tab. SNC tab. So in most of the organization, you are having a single sign-on concept. Okay. What is single sign-on? Let's say you have logged into your business machine and that business machine consists of your business user ID. Now you don't want to log in with your credentials every time. Let's say if I'll close this one and if I'll click on this one again, the system will ask you to enter your credentials. Here it is giving you to enter your credentials, but you don't want to do this activity again and again. Then how you will design that part? So designing comes under basis, but you can maintain whatever string. One string is given to you by basis team, and that string you need to maintain here. That string you need to maintain here, and that string mostly starts with P colon your organization like CH something like that, and it will go on like this one. And once you save this, this will turns to green. If SNC is active on your application server, this will turns green. And once you give this connection, this will show you that canonical name, this particular error will not come over here. Once basis team do the configuration in the system, this will turns green. This will give you an idea whether single sign-on is enabled in your system or not. Okay. And if I'll come to this point, once you can see this screen is green, then you can ask basis team, and you have received a request from the business that I am unable to log in without my credentials. Then in that case, you need to connect with basis team and ask for the SNC name. This SNC name you need to enter over here. Okay, and just save it. Once you save it, you will double click on this screen and directly log into the SAP system. Once you double click on this screen, you don't need to log in your you don't need to enter your credentials. You will directly come to this second screen, this one, the main screen. Right now we are under SU01, but you will directly come to your second screen, your main screen. Okay, now this is basically used for single sign-on. Okay, where you are not entering your credentials, you are just giving the connection name over here, and once user double clicks on the connection name, you will be able to log in through your Windows credentials. Now defaults. So in SAP, you can log in through multiple languages. Like over here, you can see English, Arabic, Bulgarian, Catalan, whatever transaction code SAP delivered in that language, that T code will run in that language only. Okay, let's say if I type Estonian over here and save this record, then user will be able to access all the transaction under this language if that transaction is available and this type of language is downloaded on your machine. Okay, on your server, sorry. This is one of the things. Now this is decimal notation. Whenever you are running some reports in SAP, what type of decimal notation you need in that? So basically in India language, you will be using this one, 1, 234, 567.8. This type of decimal notation is used in India. But in foreign countries, you will see this type of notation as well as this type of notation. So this depends on the configuration, how business is requesting what type of decimal notation. And based on that, you can choose the decimal notation for that particular user and save it. Then system will show you this type of decimal notation for all the reports, whatever reports available in SAP. Date format. In the same way, you can see all these date format. If date column is available in your reports or in your records or somewhere in the transaction, then that date format will be chosen from this date format, whatever you will choose for that user. Okay. In the same way, time format over here. In case you want to give some output to a printer, then that printer must be allocated to this one. And in case if no printer is added in SAP, then you can choose this default printer, that is LOCL. You will see this printer. Select these two options, print now. Whenever user will click on print option, the print will be given to the printer. You will see so many options over here, but mostly we will be using this one. This printer configuration is not done yet. So this LOCL will be available in general categories where you don't want to allocate a printer directly. So you can choose LOCL and that screen will pop up on your screen. Over there, you can choose your notepad option or printer option, whatever is there in your organization. This is your time zone, whatever time zone you need in your system. So all these things you need to fill based on the business requirements or based on the user requirements. In some organization, you will see it's a generic, like they will say for this country, let's say that organization is running from multiple countries and all those countries is having different format for all these details. So let's say one user from China says he needs access and you are having already one manual with you and that manual consists of all these details for China users. So you need to refer that manual and put details as per that field. In some organization, it depends on the user. What type of these field configuration is requested by that user, then in that case, as per user recommendation, you need to fill all these details. Now the next one is parameters. This particular field is basically designed for some of the parameter IDs. In P codes, you will see some default parameters or some default key field. So for those default keys, if you want those to be auto populated or auto filled, then in that case, you can put that parameter ID over here and parameter value over here. Then automatically system will fill that field with this detail. Whatever value you will given in over here under parameter, system will fill that detail with this parameter value automatically. If you want to change it, you can change it, but you don't need to enter it manually again and again. If you are running that transaction 10 times in a day and you don't want that field to be entered again and again 10 times, then in that case, you can give that parameter ID and value over here and system will auto-populate it over there. This is one of the options given by SAP. Okay, now this comes with the roles part. Now under roles, there are two concepts. Under roles, you will see two concepts. One is roles part and the second one is profile part. So when SAP comes into picture at that time, roles concept is not there. It evolves as per the time or as per the recommendations from client, or you can consider from the consulting firms. In that case, it evolves and comes, and there is a new concept comes into picture that is called roles. But previous to roles, you will see profiles. So profiles is the oldest concepts of giving authorization to the user. Okay. So under profiles, you will see lot of profiles. Likewise, if I'll open my ID, I think my ID holds. And I'll click on display because I am not going to change anything. If I'll go over here, you can see SAP all. SAP all is there. So this basically profile holds all the access, whatever available under SAP. This is one part, and the SAP underscore new, that is another profile that holds all the new concepts, whatever given by SAP in newest releases. Let's say in upcoming release of this year, you will see some new authorization objects introduced or some new T codes introduced. So that part is added under SAP underscore new, not in SAP underscore all. This is oldest part, and SAP underscore new, you will see that one. Okay. This is the this is new authorization checks. Okay. So whenever you are creating or whenever you are working in a implementation projects and basis team hand over the system to your team, then in that case, whatever account you will be creating, all those accounts hold this access SAP underscore all and new for security team, not for other teams. Your team should have this access so that you can create other users, so that you can create new roles, so that you can create once system is under stable stages and you have designed roles as per the teams, then you can assign those roles and remove these profiles. Okay. Why we are removing these profiles, that I'll come later. Okay. Right now, you need to understand the basic concept. So under roles, roles is nothing but a logical container. You can understand it in this way. Roles is nothing but a logical container, and role consists of a word, a letter that is that consists of 30 characters, or a word. You can consider it a phrase also. So whatever you are giving over here, let's say Z colon something something, and that part is having one profile. So under roles, if I'll open this one, Z, this one, let's open one role. So I'll open this one. Okay, this is one of the roles. And how to access this roles screen? That is, the T code is pfcg /n pfcg zs underscore T code. This is the role name. I'll go over here and put the same thing and click on display. Mostly you will see these type of option: copy, delete. This is another different concept that is for transport that we will cover later, change and display. Okay, and this I'll cover in some time. Okay, so this Z underscore S underscore T code, if I'll click on display, this will display this role configuration. Under this role, you will see this profile that is called profile. That's how these two concepts are interrelated. Okay, so profile is still SAP is working with profile only, because if I'll talk in terms of technical terms, so SAP does not understand rule. SAP does not understand rule. Whatever you are giving over here, SAP does not understand that part. What SAP understand is profile. This is the profile concept that SAP understand. And this is this profile. If I'll click on this display authorization data, this will display your profile configuration. Okay. I'll go over here. And so this particular rule can execute all transactions. What over here display S underscore T code. This is basically a detailed part, but what this profile consists of, these consist of authorization objects along with fields and field values. Okay. This is a detailed concept. I know you will not understand at this level, but basically I want to explain you what is the relation between role and profile. So each and every role in SAP consists of one profile. Okay. And if I'll assign this role, profile will automatically assign to the user. Let's say I'll open my ID. Okay. If I'll go to profiles, right now this profile, I'll remove this one. Okay. This profile is automatically assigned. And I have assigned this role. If I'll remove this one, you can see over here, you are not getting any value, right? But if I'll assign that role, you will see that profile again. If I'll enter this role and hit enter after that, this role is basically assigned to this ID. But right now I haven't saved it, so this won't work for this user. But if I'll go to this profiles tab, a profile is automatically assigned to this user. And profile for role, okay. So still SAP is working with profile only. So role is basically a concept that is designed for consulting firms so that they can work more relatively with SAP. They can create or design authorization for business users in a more interactive and more understanding form. Okay, so this role concept is basically for consultants, and this profile concept is basically for SAP. How SAP will understand what type of access is given to that user that is coming from profile, and how you will understand what type of access you are giving to that user so that SAP can allow that user to perform some transactions. So that is coming from this role. Role is for our understanding and profile is for SAP understand. Previously only profile is there, and right now we are working with roles and profiles. Okay. Role is nothing but a logical container that consists of profile with menu, tab, and other details. But at last, profile is processed by SAP. Okay. Hope you are clear with this concept. Okay, so here you can assign 300. Maximum capacity of role assignment is 311. And in the same way, you can assign 311 profiles to a user at a time. Okay. Now comes to this group concept. Previous to this group concept, here is one more group. Over here, this is the basic information. Under alias tab, you will see this alias user over here. So this alias user, let's say I want to assign, okay, this I'll cover over here. Under user type, let's say I'm covering this topic. Under user type, there are 5 types of user. One is dialogue, second one is system, then communication data, reference, and service. What is dialogue user? Right now, I am trying to access SAP, right? I have just double click on this one and I have entered the credentials over here, correct? So this is possible through dialogue user and service user, not with any other ID. Dialogue and service, not with any other ID. Then what's the purpose of these 3? System user is basically used for system related activities. What type of activities? Like background jobs. Like there is one user called WF batch that is used for workflow related activities. So in that case, that user is mostly designed with system. So in this case, you are not logged into the system directly, okay, through credentials. So for those type of users, we are considering this type of user type. Okay, where we are considering communication data, in all those scenarios where you will see you are connecting your SAP system to any other SAP system or to any other non-SAP system. In that case, you are just giving this type of user type to that user. Let's say you want to connect your SAP system to BW system, or to Ariba system, or to HR system, success factor system, to some non-SAP systems also. It's possible if that system allows to connect with the SAP using this RFC connections. Remote function call. RFC is remote function call. Okay, so in that scenario, we are considering this type of user type. Reference user. Let's say you have created, let's say your team consists of, your organization is providing support to another organization, and your team is having 5 different members from 5 different teams. Like one is from finance, one is from one is from SD, one is from PP, PS, HR. In this way, security bases. So in this way, you have to create 6 reference IDs. Let's say I'll create one reference ID /show SU01. And here I'll create one reference ID and I'll give, let's say I'll create one ref FI. Okay. This is the reference ID for finance team. And you have created this ID and you have given some rows to this ID. Okay. Now I'll go back to that another stream. This one. Now this user, let's say each and every team who is providing support to the customer consists of 5 to 6 different pupils. Okay. And those pupil 5 to 6 different pupils. So every time you don't need to assign roles, you don't need to search roles for that particular team, and no need to assign those roles to all the users. Best option is create reference user ID as per the teams, and you can assign those IDs directly over here as a alias under alias. Okay. And whatever access that ID is having as a reference user ID, you cannot log in through reference user ID, but you can assign that ID to some other user also. Okay. And whatever access that ID holds, that access is inherited to another account under which you have given that ID. Okay. This is another concept. Hope you understand this part. Okay. So reference user ID is nothing but you are creating an account with particular access. And if you want to give, instead of giving those roles to all the users again and again, you are just giving that ID to that user, and whatever access is given under that ID, that particular ID can access that access. Okay. Now the last one is service account. What is the difference between dialog and service account? So for dialog IDs, and let's say you are having one password. So, and you have created some type of policies in SAP through parameters. Let's say you want that password to be expired after 90 days or after 30 days. You want password to be expired after 20 days also, as per your recommendations from auditors or whatever consents you feel as per your organization. You are setting those particular policies through parameters in SAP. Okay. Then that particular password policy will not work for service accounts. And if your system for dialog user accounts, you cannot log in multiple times with the same ID, but with service accounts it's possible. Okay. So multiple login is possible through service accounts, not with dialog account. Dialog account you can log in one at a time. Okay. But with service accounts it's possible. Okay. So these are the two main differences. One is whatever policies you are having in your system, that will not be applicable on service accounts, and and second one is you can so multiple login is possible through service accounts, but these two features are not available with dialog accounts. Okay. So these are the 5 type of accounts, and hope you understand the requirement, why we are creating service, why we are creating system, communication, reference, service, and dialog. Now over here you are giving password, and this is the user group. In SAP, group is a concept where you can restrict user from accessing data at column level also. Let's say you have heard of this concept. One is where you are giving a basic security, where you are giving security at ticket level, and the second one is you are giving security at data level also. Data level means likewise your records consist of your surname, then your ID, then your location, and any other stuff. So in SAP, this group concept is introduced in mostly all the areas and mostly all the T codes where you want security to work for your data level security also. So this group is nothing but, if I'll assign some group over here, let's say technical. whatever groups you will assign under this tab, this is for the reporting purpose. Let's say I'll assign this group over here. Let's say best one is a technical consultant, and I'll assign this ID. And I want to run some reports in SAP through SUIM or some other T codes. And I want to identify which all users belongs to technical user group. Okay. So this user will come whenever you run that report. Okay. But if I'll assign this technical over here, and if I'm running the report through groups, then this user will not come because over here it's blank, and over here you assign it under the user group. So this user will not come under the reporting part. Then what's the purpose of this user group? This user group is basically used for authorization purpose. Okay, authorization purpose as well as authentication. In some cases, it will work in authentication purpose also and authorization purpose also. So how come authorization will work? Let's say you want to give access to a user for SU01, okay? And under SU01, you don't want to give all the access. Let's say you just want to give change access for technical user group, okay? So this user group, well, let's say I have assigned this user group to this user ID, okay? And under role designing, I have given some type of restriction. Under user group, I have just given this technical. Then user can restrict, then the consultant can restrict the user to perform any change related activities under SU01 apart from this user group. So what user can perform? User can run SU01? Yes. User can change user? Yes. But once user enter that ID and that user ID does not belongs to this user group, technical user group, because under authorization you have given only change access for technical user group. But if user belongs to any other user group under technical, then user will see authorization that you are not authorized to change this user group. So this group is basically used for authorization and authentication purpose. And this group is basically used for reporting purpose. So this is the two differences between these two tabs. Valid from, valid to is already covered, and this groups, you can assign this particular user to multiple groups. Let's say technical, then security, then basis, whatever groups you want to assign, like finance, under finance, P2P, P2R, R2R, and under MM, P2P, then under FICO, CO, controlling, that one user can be part of multiple groups. So this is basically used for reporting purpose, not for authentication or authorization. Now this personalization concept. This will comes into picture in some systems like SCM or CRM, where you are having approval options for a particular goods receipt and some other options over there. So SRM and CRM is basically using a concept called value. And if you want to approve it beyond that value or beyond that, so all that part can be personalized through these options. So this is an advanced stage. And the last one is license concept. In SAP, we are having multiple type of licenses. So this concept comes under audit part. Each and every year or quarterly or monthly or half yearly, there is one external audit and there is one internal audit. Each and every organization is doing this on a regular basis. So whenever organization is doing audit, they are asking in terms of user and roles record. But in case if SAP is doing audit of your system, then they will ask you on based on the licenses. Let's say you are having licenses. So licenses name I can tell you, like SAP professional licenses. Previously we are having limited professional, but right now SAP closed that part. Then one is related to, there are multiple licenses over here. So professional license is basically the one who can perform all the finance related activities as well as consulting part. Limited professional, it's based on the organization how you deal with SAP. So in some cases it allows a finance organization, finance related transaction, but not consulting, and in some part it allows consulting but not finance. So it right now it's closed, but previous to this, what type of deal you had with your SAP team. In that way, they will design your system. Okay, there are other licenses for reporting. There is one license, then for project system one license. So in this way, they have designed licenses. So what type of access you have given? Likewise, like you have given security access, then professional license is required for sure. If you have given finance transaction, then professional is required, because but if you are giving finance with display access, like some reporting they want to run, then you have to give reporting license. Okay, so in this way you have to come down to this particular rows tab and you have to identify what all access is given to that user, and based on that you need to go over here and assign that license to a user. Now once all these details are filled, save it. This is called user master record, not HR master record. This is called user master record. I think this T code is clear. This is the basic details, basic info under security. If you are a security consultant, then you should work with SU0. Now there is one more thing under SU master record. Now let's say this T code is limited to one user. Correct. Now you want to change multiple users. How you will do that? There's another T code that is through SU10. Okay. This is another T code. Here, what all options you are getting, you can enter multiple users. Okay. And you can click on this change icon, this change single, whatever record you will select here, you can click on this change single. Let's say I'll open best. I'll select this record. Click on change single. Okay, so over here you can see these many details, you can change it over here. And if I want to click on this change icon, then whatever records you have given to this IDs, change icon. So you can create as well, but at a time you can create 20 users. But because this is thing, cannot scroll down later. Okay, so at a time 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So at a time you can create 18 records. If you are using any other type of over here, you can change the style also. Under this, if I'll click over here, options. So this is over here, you can change the style also. Visual design. So over here, you can change style as well. So max you can change 18 to 20 users. Okay. Oh, sorry, at max you can create 20 users, not change. Change you can change at whatever users you are having in your system, those many users you can change it at a time. Okay. And let's say how you will add it over here. So these 3 tabs, let's say your account, you want to change users. In that case, you will be having these 3 options to search the users. I'll go to this address data. Over here, you can search the users with these many fields. If I'll click on search, 403 users account exists. If I'll select all these and click on transfer, all these accounts will be available over here. So these 403 users you can change at a time. Okay. In this way, you can search with this option, authorization data, like documentation tab. You can search logon data through logon. So this is nothing but the same field that is available in SU01. Alias, user type, security policy, license name, logs. Likewise, you can search with some users with the logs, like not set, lock is set or not set. This I'll cover just a minute. And then you can search with this part also, then this part also, and this part also. Okay. In the same way, there is third tab to log on data, group for authorization. This is which one? Under logon tab, you have seen that groups part. That is this one. Okay, you can search with that, like security. If I'll search over here, security or technical team. Technical, you can see over here, right? So only 15 users assigned with technical user group. So these many you can select and click on transfer. So you can change these many users at a time. Okay. What this particular option delivers to, you cannot change address data. Under address data, there is no option, because all the users cannot have same first name, same second name, same last name, same email ID. So that's why you cannot see address data over here. Each and every person is having a different name, first name, last name, email ID. So that part is not available. But under the logon data, you can do all the activities like user type. The security policy I'll cover. Don't worry. Password, user group, you can change valid from valid to. Under defaults, you can change parameters, you can change rules, you can change profiles, you can change groups, you can change, and license you can change. So all these functionality you can change for mass users through SU10. Okay. Now the second thing is you can create at max 20 users. And apart from this, you can delete all these users. You can lock, unlock. This global lock is a different concept that comes under CUA, Central User Administration. This is change password. This is to change role assignment. So all these options available over here. And under SU01 is one more concept, that is, yeah, I'm creating this one. Okay, over here you can see this new password. So these two concepts I forgot to tell you. This is generate. Let's say you don't want to give your manual password. So I'll type welcome at the rate 123 and I'll type welcome at the rate 123. This is the password status. Initial password means someone set this password using some transaction code like SU01, SU10. There is one more T code that is basically used for password reset only. I forgot the T code name, but I'll confirm you that later. Okay, so 3 transaction codes are there. And you can set, if you are setting this password for that user through those 3 transaction code, then this will be the initial status of your password, initial password. Let's say I logged in with this password, then this password status changed to productive password. Okay, so these two types of concept available in SAP. One is initial password and second one is productive password. If I'll click over here, you can see password is generated. You don't need to enter password manually, but this is the password that is generated for this year. Each and every time you click on this icon, you will see a 48 characters password is generated. This is the securest way of creating users in SAP system, and this is recommended also. But most of the organization is not following this, because each and every time you share this password with the person who is doing SAP task, they have to type it or they need to copy paste it. Now sometimes they will figure out what type of option. So mostly we are just giving welcome at the rate 123. But this option is there from SAP. You can click on generate, then this password is given to this user and click on save. Now there are cases where you want to deactivate password for the users. Deactivate means you are using this system as a backend system. In some cases, I'll tell you one scenario where this comes into picture. Okay, so in my previous organization, I am working with one front-end software that is called ESS and MSS. ESS is basically employee timesheet, and MSS is basically manager shifting services. So this is basically a portal that is created on top of SAP. Whenever user wants to access that portal and doing some transactions in SAP, then in that case, this password must be disabled for that user. Because if I choose this generated password, how front-end system will access back-end system with this ID? This ID exists in front-end system. I know this is a advanced concept, but I am telling you the scenario where we are using this thing. So this ID exists in front-end system also, like your ESS, MSS, that is a separate system, and under that system, best one ID exists over there as well. And these two ID assigned to that one user. Now that user access that best one system, and that user is trying to perform some T codes in SAP using that system. Then how you will give access to that system? Because each and every time, if I'll select this password option, then each and every time, whenever he logs into that system and trying to perform in some transaction in backend system, User will ask credentials, right? But if I'll choose this option and if I'll create a trusted RFC connection between those two systems, then this password, if I click on this deactivate password option, then system will understand that this ID belongs to this user, and I can allow this front end system transaction for this ID. Okay. So in those scenarios, this deactivate password option works. But if I'll save this user with this credentials, you will not be able to log in this user directly. Clear?
Yeah,
Hope you
perfect.
understand.
Yeah, that's yes. Everything is perfect.